My New Year's goal was to do the LifeCycle ride because I wanted to do something that was mentally, physically, and spiritually challenging.
This is my second ride. This is so far been a good one. My knees are kind of fucked up a little bit, which kind of sucks. Got to be here. You look around, you see all the people. Everyone's got a good community spirit. They bust their ass all day. They ride 100 miles and kick back, help each other set their tents up, and it's a great experience. This is day 2, and tomorrow we are going to have a long day. I remember my first training ride, I thought I was going to die going up a hill just because I'd been smoking. I quit a month before, and I was just like,
My first ride, I was too scared to go on any training rides with anyone because I was scared I would always be last. So I did the training on my own, and I only did 5 weeks of training. So the week of the ride, my knees were kind of shot because I have bad knees. This year, I trained for 4 months, and I went on training rides because that's what it was all about. I mean, doing the training rides was just like being a day on the ride sometimes.
Today, I will be thinking of my friend James because we passed through Salinas a little while ago.
There's 2 people in my life who have really affected me, basically with the HIV and AIDS, I guess we should say epidemic or pandemic at this point. My friend Paul and my friend James.
They inspire me. I know what they go through each day just to stay alive, just to stay healthy.
I took it upon myself to start learning about it because I knew it was something that I was going to have to be dealing with my whole life. I knew it was something that I am in jeopardy of at different times. Even though I do choose to be safe, there's still always a risk no matter what.
So today's going to be a ride for him.
This past summer, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine I've known for about 10 years, came to me and told me that he had just become HIV positive. And it made it so much more personal to me. It's the first time a friend of mine has changed from being negative to positive. And so I wrote for him.
I always personalize my letters. This year I wrote for my boyfriend, Craig. As soon as I got back, Craig got really sick and spent the next few weeks fighting 2 pneumonias, and he ended up dying in mid-July. He had these brilliant blue eyes and a smile that would just light up the room. It like every time I'd walk in, it was just felt the love. I mean, it was just amazing. During the ride, Craig was still alive, and I had a bunch of people who knew him and people that didn't know him write on note cards. And what I did was I put those note cards on the rims of my bicycle that made the trip from San Francisco to LA, and I tied them up with ribbons and so forth. And I presented it to him, and he was just completely blown away. He was so moved by everyone's sentiment, by these strangers that were wishing him luck. And that meant a lot to him because he didn't have much of a family, and they weren't really around when he was sick. And to have these people take their time to write him some words of encouragement and thoughts of love and so forth, it was really important to him. And I think, although it was probably the toughest time of his life, I don't think I've never felt more loved in those 7 months.
Scott is the only rider I knew prior to AIDS LifeCycle 1, only person I knew involved in the ride. Of all of us, he had, I think, the easiest time this year. He told me how he just was like on air, breezing through it. He had a lot that he was dealing with emotionally in his family and such, but I think that's why that allowed him to not think about the physical aspect, and he was the most energetic person I saw out there. He was amazing.
He is a man that I have learned can overcome any setback, any challenge, any obstacle that life throws in his way, and come out on the other end stronger. It's like it's a Britney Spears song.
It's gonna be a good day. We're optimistic.
After day 4, we've already had 3 centuries, and a lot of people get really emotional, and it's great. You know, I'm all for that and everything. My tent mate, James, came in after we cleaned up and so forth, and we were about ready to go to bed, and he goes, "Can I say something that's really awful?" I go, "Always." He said, "If one more person comes up to me and cries to me about nothing, I'm gonna slap them."
All I have to do is make it 51 yards today.
And he's
Because
made it better.
on this day last year, I only made it
to right
50
there.
yards.
Muscle stripping in the sports med tent.
Stripping is not as exciting as it may sound.
That is, okay, if you are doing the ride, that is the place to be. To hear Scott Campbell scream and hear James grunt like he's having sex. It is the funniest thing. The people in that tent love them, and they just can't get enough of it. Scott screams like he's being stabbed to death.
Oh, she's gonna do it.
Oh, here
She's
it
gonna scream
goes.
now. Uh-oh.
Ow!
You gotta touch it. None of this. Look at my legs.
There are things on the ride that you learn to live with. You know, 2 bad knees. Actually, so you're supposed to call them, I just learned this. You're supposed to call them healing knees because according to my partner, your knees can hear you. And if you call them bad knees, they don't know that they're supposed to be healing.
All of us had our, certainly our physical limitations to deal with on ALC2.
Today, I woke up with a smile on my face, pain in my shoulder, but a smile on my face.
Right here, I get a lot of tension build up in my upper back area and shoulder, and both my knees get a little sore, especially because I like to push heavy tension when I ride. I like to ride strong, which isn't very good for my knees. And so sports med is amazing. They're all volunteers, and they do all the stuff where they push you and they pull you and they twist you, and then you come out feeling better.
I saw them out today, got a tear.
There were 2 big hills today called the Twin Sisters, I believe.
You go up the hill, you loop around, then you cross the street, sometimes you go down the hill again. Then you go to the back side of it and do the whole damn thing again.
The biggest hill of the day, a new friend who I met yesterday who's a very, very strong rider, saw me walking and was approaching behind me and said, "Get back on your bike, get back on your bike." I was like, "I can't get back on my bike, Mark, because sports medicine won't let me." He said, "Get on your bike, you won't have to pedal." And I was like, "You just do it." And so I got on the bike and he approached behind me and he put his arm around my shoulder and he pushed me up a 2-mile hill. He carried himself and he pushed me up a 2-mile hill.
And you're not light.
I'm not a light boy.
And we all worked together so that we'd ride together. I mean, that's the camaraderie that we had.
Being there was the most important thing. Participating was the most important thing. Doing what you could was the most important thing, and not completing every mile. Just because I couldn't ride didn't mean I wasn't participating. So I was out there, I was on the road, I was in one of the medical vans, I would cheer people on until my voice got too hoarse to do it anymore as we'd pass by the riders. Then I would get to various rest stops, especially rest stop 4.
Rest stop 4. Let's go.
The highlight for me that sticks out was arriving in Santa Barbara. My teammates, Sandy, Ernest, Aldo, Billy, and Paul Hulse, who actually passed away this fall, unfortunately. We all arrived to the beach, and I just remember Paul taking his camera out. I was talking about how I used to live in Santa Barbara, and every time I see the ocean, I just want to jump in. And he's like, "Well, do it." And so I took off my clothes and I went running, and I just booked right for the ocean and I jumped right in. It was like a baptism, you know, this experience, and then getting to Santa Barbara. I think for a lot of people it was that way. Once you saw the ocean, it was like, wow. And I'm really glad that I got to share that experience with my teammates. I'm also glad that I got to meet Paul and really got to know somebody who was living with AIDS.